Hi there. This is a little reading here for tomorrow, January 4th, when so I'm studying astrology, and boy, there's a lot to learn, and there are new planets now. So we're kind of looking at how these new planets can shape guesses that astrologers make based on history of how the planets were arranged in certain ways during certain historical events. And so therefore these astrologers make these guesses about what we can expect on a global scale. And then a nation also has a natal chart. For example, the United States of America has a natal chart, July 4th, 1776. So you simply map the stars on that day, and then you compare this to other times when the sky looked similar. For example, the thing that's happening lately is that Pluto has been in Capricorn. And Pluto is way out there, and so it takes 248 years for it to go through all of the astrological signs and make a full revolution. And the last time that Pluto was in Capricorn, and astrologers have been wondering about this, was in 1776 to 77. That was the time of the American Revolution. Before that, the Protestant Reformation was happening, 1516 to 32. So they're looking at religious uprisings. They're also looking at the invasion of the Americas. We could also look at the institution of slavery. So big revolutionary changes happening the last time that Pluto was in Capricorn, and astrologers have been talking about this, and I'm Johnny come lately to this stuff. But what's happening January 4th is that Mercury will be conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. Astrologers are predicting that this could be a day of angry words because Pluto is associated with, it's like Scorpio. It's like the death card. It's destruction and rebirth, rising from the ashes, yes, but first, as one astrologer, Pam Gregory, put it, you have to break down before you can rebuild. And I paraphrased her. That's not an exact quote. The other thing that we have happening is that on January 4th, there's a new planet. There's all these new dwarf planets out there, which now actually includes Pluto, which got demoted. But instead of worrying about this demotion, what astrologers are doing is they're just expanding the heavenly bodies that they include in their interpretations. So there's a new dwarf planet named Eris, Eris. It took me a while to figure that out. Her orbit is 560.9 years. She's named after Mars' sister. She is the female warrior, the female awakener. And when she's around, and when she is square with Pluto and Mercury, as she will be on January 4th, we can look around to see if the unacknowledged in society will take to the streets. So that's some exciting stuff. And I was just curious what the cards would add to this for the next 24 hours. And, these influences can be subtle when the planets are way out there, as Eris and Pluto are way out there, but they can be quite impactful from what I'm reading. And I would say that as a historian, I look at the science behind, or the historical science behind astrology. And so that's how I first got curious about this. But the more I use the cards and the more I look at astrology, what I'm actually doing is looking for evidence that supports these interpretations. It's a kind of loose, I'm not a scientist, right? I'm a historian. But I am kind of looking to see whether what these predictions are saying resonate with me. And it's been really interesting how they come up in the cards. For example, I pulled an oracle card, and I got dark matter, and I got which Pluto, and I got voice, Mercury, the planet of communication. And that was like, wow, cool. Well, let's see what happens now. I'm going to do it on camera. So I'll pull an oracle card from a different deck here. And we'll see whether these angry words and these revolutionary changes, the female awakener, show up in the cards for us here today. So what do we get? Rainbows. Just kidding. We do kind of get rainbows. We get two little ducklings and it says trust. Okay, so if all of this is making you feel nervous, it is kind of making me feel nervous, but it's also really exciting. And the reason I think it makes me feel nervous is like, you know, I have some anger that I might want to express tomorrow, but also, you know, what's everybody around me going to be doing? What's the plan here? And the bigger message of astrologers like Pam Gregory's, they're actually really optimistic. And their advice is to really get in your heart and really come from there. So we'll see what else. I have a deck here for each of these heavenly bodies just for fun. The first one we're going to pull cards for will be from the Light Seers deck. And we're going to do this for Mercury. And then we'll pull for, I got the Queen of Swords in our release position here. Then I'm going to get the Five of Swords in our embrace, all air, communication, truth. Eight of Swords in the hidden influences. Wow, you feel trapped, you're not. Five of Swords is self-harm. Perhaps you did something, you won in a way that didn't feel good. Queen of Swords is cutting. So this has been coming up as like, don't do it, Heather. I feel like it's, you know, don't just take that sword and cut everybody out and just end everything. And you might feel like that with Eris in squaring with Mercury and also with Pluto. And a square would actually be like a difficult communication. It's a 90-degree angle. But Mercury with Pluto conjunct means that they're kind of jazzing each other up here. And then the future, we get the Four of Swords, healing. I'm gonna pull all these out here and then I'll show them to you. And okay, so for Pluto in our reading, we'll pull from the Dark Tarot. Oh no, the Dark Tarot wants to be for Eris because it's all these badass women warriors and that is what Eris is. So nice of astronomers to give us more powerful planets to represent the feminine. When I've been looking around, there's quite a bit of arguing going on about whether Cancer or Taurus or whatever astrological sign should be where we can see Eris exalted, or for example, Pluto is loves it in Scorpio, and that goes with a mythical, but it also goes with that Pluto is about the atomic. It was discovered in 1930 with the invention of the telescope, but it also is associated with the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Wow, there's so many swords in this reading. Yeah, I'm just telling you guys, all swords. I have actually 8 cards that are all swords on the table right now. So Pluto gives us the Ace of Swords in the release, the Emperor, who is this owl on a sword, in our embrace. We get the Eight of Swords again in this hidden influence, doubled up on that baby. And then in the future from Pluto, we get the Two of Swords. This is a decision, intellectual decision. Yeah, I'll show you all this. I just feel like, I just wanted to lay it out with you because, I don't know. I think there's something that happens when we're doing this together. Okay. Oh, this deck is chatty. So this is Eris. She's just jumping out here all over the place. So I'll shuffle a few more times, cut, and then lay out the 4 cards. Okay. What does the female awakener have to say to us today? Release. The 9 of Cups. Embrace. The stars. Hidden influence. The 8 of Wands. Communication for sure. And the Magician in our future. Wow, this is a very... Yeah, I'm a little anxious about tomorrow. Let's see what we have on the bottom here. Get the Ace of Swords on the bottom of this one. We've got the 3 of Pentacles. Oh, good. And Queen of Cups here is our underlying influence for the other. And the underlying influence in the Oracle is the Thunder Moon. Change. Yes, we're seeing lots and lots and lots of change going on here. Okay, so our release gives us in these 3 decks, this January 4th, we want to let go of these things. The Queen of Swords, she is, she's a wonderful state to be in. This air sign, she doesn't take any crap, and she's really known for cutting people out. We're being advised to release that impulse. It may feel like a strong impulse tomorrow or around this time. We're also being suggested that we release the Ace of Swords. Okay, so here's our Queen of Swords. You can see her. She has integrity. She's associated with honesty, truth, philosophy, the intellect, right? We can see this philosopher queen here. And she doesn't cut people out for no reason or quit and cut out bullshit for no reason. But the cards keep telling us, and astrologers are affirming this, like, don't do anything drastic right now. There's going to be a lot of change in January and February. And, just try to trust. This is it's such a funny, cute little duckies card for us from the Oracle here. Trust. Change is coming in. And maybe we're being told to kind of just let this happen. So we also get releasing of the sword here, the Ace of Swords, this truth. And we get also the card, the 9 of Cups here, which is a card of personal fulfillment, emotional fulfillment. So we're supposed to release this. I would say that we need to be less about us. And even though we know we're learning, we're kind of being told right now to prioritize, and who am I, that we ought to be less singular and individual in that and move into, I don't know. Let's look and see but I feel like this is about being a loner, and maybe becoming open to considering others, not just your individual fulfillment here. And there must be some kind of truth that, I know I have one that you maybe really want to express. And you have a righteous anger. You have a righteous interpretation, and it might make you feel powerful and alone, right? Powerful and alone to express that, and you might not care, you may that, but the cards are saying release that just for tonight, just for tomorrow, okay? Now what we are embracing is we get the 5 of Swords, the guy with the headache here, right? This is a person who has remorse. So we're supposed to embrace what this person has learned. This person won in a way that was either harmful to himself or that he now doubts that what he did was right. So we're questioning the way that we've acted. And so what the cards are saying, embrace that process of questioning, of analyzing the past, right? So embrace that. Instead of acting, do some self-reflection here. Now the Pluto gives us the Emperor as an owl here. Now the Emperor is all about structure, decision, stability. So even though we have Pluto as this, this destructive force, there is also a kind of comfort and certainty and power that we see coming here. So we're being told to do some self-reflection and to sit in our power. And this, I think, is reiterated here. Here we have a very Queen of Swords kind of representation of the star, which is a card of wish fulfillment, of healing. You know, there's a couple cards of healing. You also get the Four of Swords here. You're definitely moving. There's definitely an Eight of Swords in your background. So we're moving forward into a place of healing, decision making, and manifesting. That's our future. But there's a lot in play here. And I love that Eris is showing up here as the female awakener with her massive sword. That it has, it's either blood dripping off it. It looks to me like veins. Like it makes me think of a living sword, a weapon that is rooted in, rooted. It's a rooted weapon. So it's grounded in the earth. She is reminding me here of the Emperor because she has all of these owls around her. So there's lots of truth here. So the star is not always about the intellect and philosophy, but this reading is very much swords, intellect, the air, the sanguine, the blood. This looks very dark and very powerful, and very transformative here. So we're supposed to embrace this. Like I said, we're both releasing the Queen of Swords, but then we're also kind of embracing a very similar figure. She's actually more active than this person. She's out there with her owls, and so I think that's important. She's not alone. She has a collective of owls with her. And he's also our Five of Swords guy. He's also got some bird help here. So that raven talking in his ear. So we are being encouraged to embrace something to do with all these birds. That's interesting. Okay. Trust me, this is going to make some kind of sense, or it'll be the first time it doesn't. Okay. So under hidden influences here, we have the Eight of Swords in this form. So you can see she's looking in the mirror. She is not tied up or blindfolded, but she sees herself as tied up by all these birds, all these representatives of the swords of truth. Her perception of herself is that she's trapped, and she is not trapped. This is another version of this, and here we see the roots. This is another Eight of Swords. This is from Pluto for us. So we see all of these swords. There's a snake circled in here, but it's also, again, the owls flying around the moon, a young moon, waxing or waning. It doesn't matter, maybe. It's underground. We can see all of the roots, the mycelium, the earth. So again, this is a card about a perception of being trapped, of being in danger, and that this is a perception that we actually are being helped by owls. We are as wise and as powerful as these bird allies. And then thirdly, we get, and this card is from Eris, but this is also a card of communication. The Eight of Wands is action, willpower in the suit of Wands, but also it's about communicating or traveling. And you can see that she is becoming a werewolf here. It's very transformative kind of communication. So if we think of the hidden influences, and we learn the Eris is about people going in the streets who feel like they are oppressed, right? That they're not being heard. And so, gosh darn it, they're going to say what they know, right? They're going to use this sword. All these owls have told them what they know to be true. And there's a kind of wolfy, there's a werewolf here, right? Look at her hands. So this female awakener is awakening from this sensation, which is a false perception of being trapped here. Very trapped, very confined. We see, I think this middle Eight of Swords here is really really interesting how this artist has drawn this. So we have a snake. This is always about shedding your old skin. The presence of owls, the presence of the moon. And look, this is an eyeball, right? This is all about perception and all of these roots and all of these making of connections here. So this hidden influence is that we are feeling trapped. We have all of this power. We are to embrace this power, whatever the owl means to you. Whatever birds tell you. Ravens are appearing here as well because of this deck. The Light Seers uses ravens as swords. Tons of swords here, babes. Okay, the future. Healing, this kind of, here you are with your little heart in your little nest, healing from whatever is going to happen on the 4th. Okay? So you're being told not to cut people out. Look at yourself. Get out of that. There's a feeling that you have that you're trapped when you're not. And in the future, if you just kind of get through this, you can heal. Okay? You're also being told that while you're in your little nest, healing, you're in this Two of Swords position. This is a decision point. The twos are decisions. This little frog has chosen a direction. It's a very turbulent sea that the frog's in. You can see very shadowy hands holding that truth that the swords represent. Truth, knowledge, the intellect. Yeah. And the frog has chosen. There's also tons of little fireflies that I just now seeing all around the frog here. And this card under another new moon. And right, so we see the previous card has the new moon at the center of the iris of this eye. So I feel like this frog in the future has found a direction and made a decision, got out of feeling trapped. Okay, and then thirdly, you get the Magician. This is, you have all the tools. You can manifest the world that you want to live in. Anything you want, you can manifest when you're a magician. This is the future that we're given from this bottom set of cards here. The Magician has all the tools. He has the swords, the cups, the pentacles, and the wands. This particular fellow has none of those things are represented in this. This person has a mask. They've taken the mask off. They also have a manuscript of some kind, like I'm thinking of typed pages or handwritten pages, kind of because this seems old. So there's a kind of that's our future here. So we see healing, decision making, and manifesting as of it in the future here. Okay. The one place where we're seeing the hidden influence is like the werewolf words. That's the angry words here. This communication where she's becoming a werewolf. So that is perhaps what the astrologers are telling us, that this kind of hidden influence. So you may feel trapped and pissed off about it, and like you want to fight your way out of there, right? For your own individual gain. You're being advised, like, you're still going to get to fight, but you're going to do it with others, with all these owls, and in a way that is wise, practical, stable, stabilizing, right? And that is informed by the fact that you've done something rash in the past that either hurt you or others. And so you're being told, learn from this, act like the emperor, be a leader, not a destroyer, not just going for your own personal fulfillment, and work with others. And this is a process of healing where you go to battle with owls. They may be different from you, but you are, with Eris, the female warrior, the female awakener, you are going into the streets with all the other people unacknowledged in society, right? To speak up for change. And that's what we see here. This is you speaking up for change, not by yourself, but with others. And that the sensation of being trapped, of being isolated, that you need to become aware of. This is really driving you. You need to become aware of that, and you need to see your way out of it, right? You need to see that this is just a perception, that you're as free as these owls who are a part of this collective truth-telling, that, you do get to tell the truth here, but you're doing it not just for yourself, and you're doing it like the emperor. You're doing it with all these owl people, whoever these owl people are. To me, the owl people would represent people who have knowledge, because we're seeing them come up with Eris, and with Pluto, that death card, that death and rebirth, that transformative, perhaps destructive kind of emperor that we have, that this is a very powerful truth that has been arrived at with the wisdom of an owl that we think of as like sitting through the night awake, eyes wide open in the darkness, right? So there's some kind of wisdom that is coming out of darkness, and that you will be asked to communicate. Here, this is a message, or you being the messenger in the future, and also the manifester. So this is our very powerful healing, deciding, and then making it real in the world, kind of a future. But let's see, if we look at our hidden influences, we get the truth, again, the Ace of Swords. So that's a part of, remember, that was a part of our release, the Ace of Swords here. So I don't think it means that you forget that thing, but I just think that you hold on to it. Well, you're being told to release it. So what does that mean? We don't want you to act like the Queen of Swords. We don't want you to be selfish with it. We want it to be a bigger truth, or a part of a more collective truth. And that gets reinforced here by the Three of Pentacles, which is really about building with others. This is our Pluto card here. This is, this resonates with what we're hearing, that first destruction, then rebuilding together, right? Cross-species rebuilding. Making a vision that all these animals that I really think do represent the rebels, the unheard, the unrepresented, underrepresented, marginalized people, because they're both. That's interesting, because I've seen, so what we actually have here is a scene of three wolves hunting a stag. And so this stag has, in other times I've looked at it, represented what they're going to hunt and kill. But I don't see that today. Today I see the stag and the wolves working together in this Three of Pentacles way. And it's a very unlikely alliance. I also get the Three of Cups underneath here. So another three, another kind of collaboration, reconciliation, a friendly new beginning. Pentacle, Page of Pentacles, little practical, three-dimensional, emotionally fulfilling start. And that leads us to what Mercury wants us to see as this underlying influence. There's all of these swords in this reading. There's all of this talk, all of this truth, all of this coldness. And here, the underlying influence of the Queen of Cups. She's very in touch. She's communicating energetically. She's a very emotionally mature person. And so we're getting a sense here of what we see in the future in that set of cards. You heal with your heart from what looks to be a tough day. So trust the ducklings. Trust these emotional connections. There's an egg here, and it looks like there's like a person, very much like this future. There's a person in this egg. There's a new you here. Right? We see change imminent. This is the kind of energy that we're in right now. It feels that way to me, and that's what everybody's saying. I don't know. Maybe everyone's wrong, and maybe it's just because I've been watching all this stuff. Like, I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm curious. I'm open. I'm taking the advice of not destroying my life, not cutting out my security, and of trusting that I'm going to be a part of something with others that is a more of a collective, unified, moving out of restriction, out of this Eight of Swords, into this very powerful magician, which is the final card in this reading. So I'm going to trust that process, and I'm going to also take the advice to come from my heart. She's in a dress of red. That's willpower color. So if your will comes from your heart, then the actions that you do in the world won't leave you feeling like this. It's giving you a chance to learn from the mistakes that you've made in the past going forward. So let's see what happens. Let me know. All right.